talk about his Dark Materials now, HBO's newest major IP shows, based off the novel series by Philip Pullman, premiered last night, Mondays. I mean, this is a pretty killer cast.
Mhm.
Daphne Keane from Logan headlining
Yeah.
it, which, I mean, she was fantastic in Logan, so I'm glad we get to see her doing some more here. I mean,
Only 14 still very young.
yeah, her and the kids from Stranger Things are really dominating that young kid space. I feel like,
Yeah, for
especially if
sure.
this goes well. Um, but I mean, then you got uh, James McAvoy,
Mhm.
you have Lin-Manuel Miranda, um, and I mean a lot of people that you recognize. But if you've
Person from
watched
The
the HBO
Affair.
shows,
What's
yeah,
her name?
person from The Affair, you have
Ruth Wilson.
Freeman from The Wire. Um, just a lot of like those guys were just really
Right.
solid quality actors to round out the
Veterans.
cast. Exactly. Um, so it's interesting because it's an 8 episode series. Um, Premiered last night, with the BBC premiering it on November 3rd. And I didn't read the books. I don't think you did either. And I was left very intrigued, but also just kind of like, did any like it felt like a lot happened and nothing happened at the same time in the episode for me. And I
Mhm.
was like, I don't know if this is going to be something that's going to be able to grab my attention the whole time. If it just keeps giving us these little nuggets, I have to imagine it's going to have to pick up here pretty quickly. How'd you feel about the premiere?
Yeah. Um, I'm gonna use the W word here. Got some Westworld vibes in terms
No.
of the concerns I had. Again, after just one episode, but with a pilot of this magnitude, obviously adapting a famous source material with fervent fans that have been burned before with the 2007 movie The Golden Compass, a movie I've seen but recall very little of. Um, the expectations are inherently high, and it seemed like this pilot was most concerned with really just building the world, which makes sense because there's a lot to do with that. I think they did a good job of explaining how everyone has the manifestation of their soul in this demon form, which is a animal that'll manifest as an animal that will change until you come of age or hit puberty, and then it settles on a form. All kinds of animals, and they talk to you. So I think that was cool, and I thought those effects looked pretty good. But
Mm-hmm.
the other world building, like with the college and what's it called, the authority that like rules the land, I forget, who's an M. Um,
Mm-hmm.
there's just a lot of questions about how the world works and like what stuff means, and like when McAvoy's showing off this dust stuff to his colleagues, they're all like freaking out and saying it's heresy, and we're like, what the fuck are you talking about? I don't get anything. And
Right.
I know it's gonna come, but it's like Lyra, Daphne Keene's character, gets told a bunch in this episode, like, oh, you can't ask this, or you're too young, and you'll learn later. And it's like, well, us as the audience would also like to know these things. So you have to tell it in a compelling way to build up a mystery. So that's just my concern off the pilot. But I think the obviously going in knowing that this is a store people ride for, I'm going to give it more of a benefit of the doubt.
Mm-hmm.
And we know HBO and the BBC are invested in this. They've already greenlit a second season. I believe they're actually shooting that right now. Like this is in the pipe. This is part of that post Thrones HBO blockbuster lineup, or so they hope. Um, but yeah, I think there's room for improvement in terms of the storytelling. But I think everything else was pretty interesting, as you said.
Yeah, I found the scenes that were most fascinating to be when uh, Daphne King gets to interact with somebody, whether it was when she like tricked her teacher, or when the scene where her and McAvoy finally interact. I thought were absolutely like just gripping. I really liked seeing her get to interact with other people, but I feel like it's a lot of time with her being um, like almost like being alone, trying to like contemplate things, or people like talking at her. But I'm really intrigued by the animal portion of this, especially because Game of Thrones, obviously we couldn't have ghosts in the last 2 seasons, but we could have dragons. So now we're gonna have basically a version of Ghost, if not bigger, every single episode for 8 episodes and maybe beyond. It's
Right.
a bit puzzling, but I think it's a nice flourish and really adds uh, some intrigue to it, especially with the subtle hints that Daphne is this part of this prophecy and this incredibly
Mm-hmm.
strong being in this world, and what her demon will become, I think is very intriguing. It's interesting because even on the picture behind you, um, Lin-Manuel Miranda is mentioned in this. However, he's not one of the stars of this. He's listed as a reoccurring character.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it's a bit of like here's like the big star who's attached to this, but really not going to be as maybe involved as people may believe. But there's enough here where I'm like, I want to see more. I'm gonna watch the whole thing regardless, especially if it's a train wreck. It could be fun to talk about. But I have faith that they'll turn this around. Um, what did you think of the kid who played? Was it Roger or is it? Yeah, Roger, the friend.
He the kid who got taken.
Yeah,
Um,
I
yeah,
thought
I
he
don't know.
stunk.
Yeah, that's the thing with kid actors, man.
Yeah,
They're usually bad.
but the thing is, you put him next to Daphne Keene, and it's
Right.
like,
She's such a talent.
right.
um,
Go ahead.
that's funny. Yeah, I like the scene where that I still don't know the character names when that kid's like having his come of age and he finds out his demon's a hawk. Um
Mhm.
and like God, the whole town's like cheering him on and like mad hyped. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Mhm.
Some ritual shit. But I'm curious to see like so the critics they've seen 4 episodes, they've seen half the season. Lin-Manuel shows up in that fourth episode. Um I'm curious to see how far they go with this the authority that like rules the land, because in the books that is widely seen as a stand-in for the issues with religion when it goes too far and authority and stuff like that. And the movie was famously picketed and protested by religious groups for being anti Christianity and stuff like that. And I'm just curious to see how far that goes. I mean, because that's interesting, right? That, and I feel like if you pull back and there's just a nebulous, bad fascist government that needs to be overthrown, it's just not unique anymore. So I really hope they stick to some of those things that kind of stood out and enhance the themes that all the fans of the series really rode for. But that remains to be seen.
Yeah, it's like you said, there's enough here to be intrigued, but also think enough here to be concerned about as well. So um, we'll definitely be watching. I'm also very curious to see um, Ruth Wilson's character, Miss Coulter.
Mhm.
Getting some weird vibes from her in this episode, but every time she was on screen, I was like, she at least catches my eye. It seems like she's an actress in a role that's going to be quite intriguing.
It's like she's dressed differently than everyone. Pay attention. Good trick.
Yeah. uh, Shout out to the costume department there. Any last thoughts on this? I know we'll probably be wrapping up the season in right around Christmas time.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying. It's like, man, can this be earlier for my year-end list work? I like the shows to be done already. And then Netflix is like, now we're dropping The Witcher on the 20th. Fuck off.
Yeah, that's gonna be tough. But this one, I mean, unless it's really really good, TV this year is just
Yeah,
so
no,
deep. It's
exactly.
crazy.
Not that big a deal.